Welcome to AudioPath, where we take a real look at making a living in music.
Ever wonder what it's like to make a living in music outside of the big industry hubs? We're here to pull back the curtain with raw, unfiltered conversations about the ups, downs, and everything in between.
Join us, John Kimbrough,
And Trent Harrison,
as we share real-world insights, experiences, and stories from behind the scenes in the music industry. Whether you're an artist, audio nerd, or you just love music, we've got something for you.
this is AudioPath, where the hustle is real and the passion runs deep.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode 2 of AudioPath.
Episode 2.
We're here. This is going to be a really great episode, and it's actually coming to you in 2 parts,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We kind of sat down and we were like, hey, we want to talk about the whole process of getting your song fully recorded and ready for release, and then also talking about releasing the song, like the process to go through with that.
Right.
So it's going to wind up being a 2-part episode, which I think we're both really excited to dive into. We
Yes.
are both involved in both of these processes, and I think it's going to be really fruitful for you all. Before we get there, though, I just want to say that if you've never done this before, this can seem like a really daunting task.
It can.
If you've never been into a recording studio or you've never even sat down in front of a microphone at your house to record anything, we understand.
Mm-hmm.
We have been there. I remember the first time I recorded anything, and I was like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So part of what we want to do is make this really easy and accessible for you all as the listeners, and that's why we call it AudioPath. We're trying to carve this path out for
That's
you
right.
to go down to get to that point. So we're about to dive into part 1. I'm excited. You excited?
I'm stoked.
Great. I mean, I am too.
Yeah.
So part 1 here is the whole process of you've got this song. What do you do with it? You've written this song, you and your band or you individually, and what are the steps? So Trent, you're
Yeah.
qualified to talk to us about this, man. So that's me. Pretend I'm that guy.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote this song and I need to get it out there to people.
Yeah.
What do I do, man? What's step 1?
Where do we start? Good question. So, okay. There's a couple different paths that you can take. But assuming so you've got your band, you've already written your song, you've ready to go. Let's just assume that we've already been in contact or you've already contacted your studio. You've done all your pre-production, everything is ready. You're about to go into the studio. Where do we start there? So you already have your scratch tracks, or you've done them in a short session prior, whatever.
Pause right there.
Yeah.
Tell us what a scratch track is.
Or
Or what it should be.
Totally. So, scratch track, and we may have touched on this a little bit in episode 1, but really a scratch track is just a performance of the song by any one or multiple members of the band to the structure and tempo of the song that is not intended to be used for the final release, but is a scratch or throwaway track. So you're not concerned as much on the quality of the recording or individual instrument. You're really looking for the performance and just that everything's right about the song. Like I said, the tempo's right. You're not hitting bum chords. Like what you're going to use it for is whoever is going first, in most cases the drummer, is going to have those scratch tracks in his ears to play along to.
Yes.
It's a guide track, basically, to guide the drummer through the song without having his bandmates play it in real time. It's a pre-recorded thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Great. And it's what winds up eventually, it's basically your song arrangement.
Yes.
And over the course of more things getting tracked, it goes away.
That's right. That's right. If you have the capability to track out each one of the instruments in that capacity separately ahead of time, that's even better. Because when you get to the next instrument, you can remove the scratch of that instrument. So let's say, for example, you've got your drum space, 2 guitars, keyboard, and vocals, right? if you're scratching things out, maybe you aren't recording the drums, but you're recording everything else. And so then when the drummer goes, he's got all that. And then whenever the bass player goes, you take the bass out, and then he's got the drums, he's doing the bass, and he's got everything else. And then you just go through the line, so on and so forth, until eventually it's all removed and all the final tracks are in its place. So that's step one.
Yeah.
I would say. And that process can be done outside of the studio at home because, like I said, quality is not really a concern.
Mm-hmm.
So,
would you say like somebody could make one of those like on their phone, just a phone recording?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be difficult because you want the click track, the metronome, the tempo needs to be there, and unless you're using like the GarageBand app on your phone, you're probably not going to be able to record with a metronome. Definitely not in like voice memo, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you need some sort of basic, even if you just had like a 2-channel Focusrite Scarlett interface and GarageBand on your laptop, you could make this happen. But you need a little something more than voice memo on your phone.
Right.
Voice memo on your phone is a great tool for demoing ideas for the band or to share with your studio engineer or producer, but not probably going to work for scratch tracks.
Yeah.
You need something one step above that.
One step up.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we've got the scratch track.
Okay.
What's next?
Okay. So you got step one done. So now you're ready to actually start recording the pieces of the song that are going to be a part of the final release. So, as I was mentioning in the scratch track process, a lot of the times people will start with drums. At least that's the way that I prefer to do it. There's a number of ways to skin the cat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
poor cat.
Yeah, poor cat. That's right. But the drums are very common as the foundation. I like to look at recording a song as like building a house. And I consider the drums as like the slab or the foundation, the crawl space, like the studs of the house. And then you add the sheetrock and insulation, the base, right? And then you get into the more of the details, the windows and some of the trim and stuff, the guitars, and then, all the way up to the paint and, all of the aesthetics, the vocals, right? So I like to look at it like that. So you wouldn't start building your house with the paint, right?
Yep. That would not make for a good house.
Yeah, you would. Where would you put it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have something to put the paint on, just as like you have to have tracks to put the vocals on.
Yeah.
And that's a little rudimentary, but at the same time, it makes sense. And
it does.
It kind of guides you. Now, there is a point, like when I'm tracking out a full band, like when we've done the drums and the bass and maybe guitar, like if there's guitar or keys, like it can go in a different, like it doesn't have to go to guitars right after. It can go to keyboard and then go to guitar. Like you open up like the paths, like there's options at that point. But typically, as far as order of operations, drums, bass, rhythm section, then melodic or other rhythmic instruments, rhythm guitar, and then keys, lead guitar, vocals last. Usually vocals last.
Yeah.
Auxiliary percussion, shakers and tambourines and such, also towards the end usually, because you're usually thinking of those as like little icings on the cake kind of thing. Like they're not the main part of the song, but they can make a shaker can change your track.
It can change the game.
Yeah.
Or like a little like a riser.
Oh man, yeah.
Big time. Yep.
Totally. So that's kind of step 2 is starting with your foundational instruments, tracking those out. And then step 3, the rest of the instrumentation, I would say. And then after you've got everything recorded, then where does it go from there, right?
Right.
So
right.
that's part of our discussion here today.
Totally. So let me ask another question for you about the recording process for our listeners. So you get things recorded in. Is there and I'm asking this knowing that there is, but is there a process after things are recorded where things get maybe tweaked around a little bit? Can we talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit?
totally.
Okay.
So let me just go ahead and lay out the whole thing, and then we'll talk about each one of the phases.
Yes.
So the way I look at it, and I guess you can add one or more if you consider it part of the process, which I guess you should. Pre-production is phase one. So that's going to be your scratch tracks and all that, right? Demoing is part of that. Then production is the recording process, recording all of the instruments, right? And then editing is a good process.
What I was hinting at.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about. And we'll elaborate on that one. And then mixing, another big part. And then mastering.
Yes.
Another big part. And then release is after that. But I would say that is...
Yeah, that's going to be part two.
That's going to be part two.
There's a lot in that.
That's not really part of the process. That's what to do after the process is done. So, editing. Editing is very powerful and a very important part of the process.
Yes.
And honestly, it sometimes or the way that I do it, it kind of weaves in and out of the recording process. Like you do a little bit of recording, you do some editing. And then you do some more recording, you do some editing.
Yeah.
And now, to elaborate on what is that, what am I doing, what is the editing that I'm working on? If you're starting with the foundation with drums, then it could be drum quantizing. So what does that mean? Well,
you're about to make some drummers mad.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
So, nobody's perfect, right? You do your best, you play with the click track, and you try to get it as tight to the metronome as possible because that's the time of your song, and that's, you want it to be as on time as possible, of course, right? And so, but like I said, no one's perfect. So quantizing is basically you go in and you're chopping up each little hit or beat of the drum and you're snapping it to the grid. Now, the grid in recording software is the timeline that's divided up into tiny little portions. And so there's your different beats. You've got, your 1, 2, 3, 4 of the measure, and then there's sub beats in there as well. So you're going in, you're chopping all that up, you're snapping it to the grid, and then after that process is smoothed over, your drum beat is right on the money, right on the click track.
Yeah.
Now, that's a controversial thing.
It is controversial.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, how do you feel about that? You're a drummer.
Yeah. I play drums.
Right,
I'm not
you play drums.
I'm not like the world's best drummer, but I can play some drums.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the ability to edit my own drums, I would not call myself a drummer. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
So, the reality is exactly what you just said, is that nobody's perfect. If you want your song to sound really tight, though, your drums need to be perfect.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a catch-22 where you want the authenticity of the song. And I would even go so far as to say that this is genre-specific for me most of the time.
Yeah, totally.
If I'm going for a punchy pop kind of song, those drums better be right on the grid.
Right on it. Yeah.
Right on it. If I'm going for more of an indie rock kind of a vibe, maybe they don't need to be totally on the grid, but they should be pretty darn close.
They should be.
And so I think it totally depends on the genre. It depends on, what you're trying to go for.
Yeah.
I would say 90 to 95% of the time, though, I'm doing at least some drum editing.
Yep.
Some of that's player dependent.
Yep.
Some of it is, and I'm including myself, I have to quantize my own drums.
Right.
Some of it's player dependent, some of it is genre specific. And so, yeah, I think drum editing is just a part of the process. It's just every time that I track a drummer, I know it's going to be part of it. Another thing that I think has made this topic controversial is the fact that there are some people who are just not very good at it.
Yeah.
And if you are, if you're going in, and this is actually, this is one difference that you and I have, just so that our audience knows, you're a Pro Tools guy primarily. I'm a Logic guy primarily. I think it's safe to say we both work in both, though, when needed. But anyway, in Logic in particular, I see this happen all the time. People go in, they track their drums, and then they just go up to the top left corner and they just hit quantize to the eighth note or the 16th of the quarter or whatever, and they leave it at that. And
Yeah.
it's not going to be right. If you're not manually editing your drums and doing the hard work,
Yeah.
the hard engineer work
Yeah.
of going in and actually lining them up manually, they're not going to sound right. And that's where drummers get frustrated because they're like, man, it sounded awesome when I recorded it, but you messed all my stuff up. And I
Right.
totally understand that.
Yeah. I've seen that before for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy process. It is a very
It's tedious, man.
Yeah.
It's
It's
tedious.
labor intensive. It's like you said. So for example's sake, like, and everybody works at a different speed, but for me, on average, it usually takes anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half of drum quantizing or editing per song.
Yes.
I mean,
I would agree.
Yeah,
And that's at a good speed.
Yeah, that's at a pretty decent speed. Now, some songs that have simpler drum beats or maybe just a shorter song in general, I can knock out in 45 minutes or so. But it's not just like you were saying, just go up in the corner and just hit the button and that's what no. If you do it that way, you're going to lose a lot.
You are.
And but if you go in manually, and now let me distinct between a couple different things. So I feel like it's a sliding scale of like how much you kind of do, right? But I kind of put it in two camps. There's manual drum editing where I'm not even like in Pro Tools, it's called Beat Detective, and that's what you use to basically it just analyzes the waveforms and it identifies the hits of the beat. And it does a really good job of that. You can set the sensitivity for how much or how little.
Yeah.
But it's never going to get it right. And that's part of the reason why it takes a while to do, because it's just a computer. It's just reading it and seeing something. It doesn't even hear or know what the drum beat is.
Right.
So it might move something the wrong direction, and then all of a sudden it changed the drum beat. So you gotta you gotta go in and listen and play, manually go through everything to make sure it hasn't reordered the drum beat, right?
Yes, totally changed the drum beat.
Yeah, and then the drummer's gonna be real upset with that.
For sure.
So there's two different types. It's like there's manual and then there's actual quantizing. So like you were saying with the different genres, I don't feel like everyone necessarily needs the quantization that comes with like pop songs or even like rock songs, some like indie songs. Like I'm working on a project right now that I would say I am quantizing the drums, but I'm purposefully not doing it to 100%. I'm probably, if I had to put a dial on it, putting it at like 85 or 90%. So I'm leaving some of the original performance exactly where it was to make it feel more human.
Awesome.
Right?
Yep. That's how pros do it.
Yeah.
That is how pros do it.
Yeah. And then the manual one is like, if you just go in and you hear spots that are off and you just target and surgically fix that spot, but you aren't going through the whole song beat by beat. So there's that type of way, which can work for different genres just fine. And so with that, like I said, because I feel like people get worried. And we kind of touched on this in the last episode a little bit. They get worried that it's going to suck the soul out of the performance. I totally disagree with that.
I do too. Yeah. I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, I think that, the timing of your music is very important, and no one's going to be perfect. And I don't think it should be 100%, because then the argument that people are posing is that it sounds robotic. And yeah, if you make it as tight as like a drum loop from a sample pack, then it's going to sound like that.
Robotic.
Yeah, robotic, exactly. But if you take it to that 90%, range and leave some of the human, feel in it, then you just got an awesome drum performance.
Agreed.
Right?
Yep, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is another part of it too that I think is really important, and we probably don't have time to talk about all of this. We may do a whole episode on it at some point. But if you don't do that correctly, especially if you have drum overheads in play, you can create massive phase issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, why do my cymbals sound like doo doo?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, well, you probably quantized wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, that can be a big deal. I would say here's my personal approach most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The things that go through a significant editing process for me,
Yeah.
every time, are going to be drums, putting them on the grid, and vocals, timing them and tuning them.
Yep.
And if you're one of those people that's like, oh, auto-tune is for people who suck, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. Here's the thing with vocals is auto-tune, here's the way I think about it. Auto-tune takes you to the next level of vocalist.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are a bad vocalist, it will make you an okay vocalist.
Yeah.
If you are an okay vocalist, it will make you a good vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a good vocalist, it'll make you great. And if you are a great vocalist, it will make you a perfect vocalist.
It will make you amazing. Yes, exactly.
And that's just how it works. Whether we're talking about actual autotune or Melodyne or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just tuning is tuning and timing. Vocal timing is something I think that gets looked over.
Probably
but
does
it's
get looked over.
Very important to make sure things are synced up.
Right. I mean, vocals, you don't normally think about like, oh, gotta turn on that metronome so I can sing this song.
Mm-hmm.
But buddy, like whenever you're hitting all those phrases like in the flow and the timing is there, like, it makes a big difference.
Yes.
It really does.
Yep.
And like sometimes it's one of those things in production, like where something might not sound quite right, but it's hard to figure out that that's the problem. Like everything else behind it is in time because hopefully by the time you get to vocals, you've already edited everything else.
Yep.
And then the vocals come around and you're like, it sounds pretty good, but I'm not really feeling it. So yeah, the timing of the vocal on top of the beat is very important.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. And aside from that, this is, again, just me personally, those two things are normally the only things that I really will try to do any like timing or tuning on as far as editing. I try to let my guitars just be the guitars unless they're super off. And if that's the case, I just re-record them. Bass, same thing. Like, I feel like if your bass player can't just be really, really tight with, quantized drums, like you may have a bigger problem.
I will interject for one exception on that. I do quantize bass whenever I'm tracking drums and bass at the same time.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because that does happen quite often. You track the rhythm section together.
Yeah.
They feed off of each other. And then you go in, and if you went in and quantized the drums but left the bass the same, then the bass would sound way off.
Yeah.
So you have to quantize the bass after you quantize the drums to make it fit to the edited drums.
That's amazing, dude. And it speaks to our different perspectives because I've literally never had to do that. Like I don't have a studio.
Yeah.
So I'm always just like doing one at a time.
Right.
Like just getting them done.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. It's easier in some aspects than drums, but can be harder in some other aspects of than drums. I feel like it takes me a similar amount of time depending on how busy the bass part is. But sometimes it can be quicker, if they're just, rolling on some longer, whole notes and such, then it just kind of cruises on along.
Yep.
But yeah, very important to do if you're doing those two things together.
A solid point.
Yeah. But good, your point is very valid too, because like the project I'm working on now, we quantized all the drums, but we were tracking everything individually. The drummer and the bass player recorded separately, and we did not quantize the bass. We had him play to the edited drums, and it was tight because what he was playing to was tight. You know?
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, what do you know?
I mean, it's almost like we're building a house.
Yes,
and
that's
that's
right.
the
You
foundation.
don't want cracks in your
You don't want
foundation.
cracks. You really don't. Cool. All
So
right.
yeah, so let's move on from that a little bit. Editing, and so yeah, vocal editing, drum editing, maybe spot editing on guitars and keyboards and such, but it's mostly just cleanup, right? You got to remove some of the background noises and fades and ins and outs and stuff like that.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Cool. All right. So we've got this song. We've recorded it. It's been edited. What's next?
What's next? Yeah. So the recording process is all done. It's been edited. I would say at that point, if nothing else is going to be added, then it goes to the mix phase. So, okay, what is mixing? Well, I would say the basic general definition is you're taking all the tracks that you've got recorded and you're balancing them all out to make the mix, right? Which is what you listen to as a whole. But it goes way deeper than that. This is the part where you're adding your compression, your EQ, any of your effects, reverb, delay, modulation. This is, also the part where you're making your decisions in should something be panned off to one side? Should this thing sound like it is in the background? Should this thing be the forefront of the mix? Like, what is most important in this situation?
Yep.
That's kind of a general overview, I would say.
Yeah.
Did I leave anything out?
No, I think that's good. I have a very similar view of it. I think the only thing I'll add to that is I think if you're like self-producing, you're going to wind up in a spot while you're recording some of the stuff where you're like, wait, am I mixing right now?
Yeah.
Am I which hat am I wearing? And sometimes you're doing both a little bit. But yeah, the dedicated mixing phase though is really exactly what you just said. It's balancing things. Here's the way I view it is that when you are recording, and again, this analogy is not perfect like our other one, but when you're recording, you are creating your palette, pretending you're a painter here. So you're getting all of your colors set up and ready to go, and they are going to be the color palette for your painting. When you are actually mixing, you're taking all of those and you're putting them in their own place on the actual canvas. Everything has to have a place. I think, if you're struggling to understand this from a conceptual standpoint, just go listen to something that is literally unmixed.
Yeah.
You can find examples of this.
Yeah.
And hit play and you'll realize, whoa, okay, mixing does a lot. The idea is it's exactly what it sounds like. It is mixing all of these different elements together in a way that creates one beautiful, bigger picture. That's the way that I think of mixing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to describe it. And you should start at the front of the song and listen to what's going on with all of the tracks and try to pinpoint what the feeling and the emotion of each section of the song that you're in and how can you enhance that, right? What makes it feel the way that it feels, and is there something that's what's the most important element? A lot of times it's the vocals, but not always.
Right.
And how can you accentuate that and then use all of the other colors and pieces to, lift that thing up?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then use all your tools like EQ and compression and effects to also enhance that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a song in a mix, when you start off in the recording process, it's going to feel very static. And I've been in many sessions where the artist, we're pretty close to the end of the recording, and they're hearing it back in the control room, and they're like, yeah, everything sounds good. I wonder, if maybe this should be a little louder, or maybe that's not something that should be too loud in the mix. And I'm like, yes, what you're talking about is the next phase. You're
Right.
talking about the
Right.
mixing phase right now. And I can understand why you're feeling that way because it's very static. Everything is just recorded at the proper level, and it hasn't been put in its place yet.
Right.
It's all just kind of jammed and stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
And like when you're going through back to the feeling of the song, like you're gonna want to bring things up in the chorus in certain places and let them duck down in the verses. Like you want it to be like a roller coaster ride,
You do.
less like driving down the highway, you want
Yes.
it to have some movement and feeling from beginning to end.
And that happens when you mix.
Yes,
Yeah.
that happens in the mix.
Another thing that I describe, because I've been in the same situation, another way I will describe this to people who aren't quite understanding it is it's like building a piece of IKEA furniture. You know, it's like, okay, we're like, typically, I've actually built a lot of IKEA furniture, I guess. But like when you get IKEA furniture, typically you take it all out and you lay out all the different pieces so that you're kind of organized before you start actually doing it.
Yeah.
That organization process is essentially like recording. And then when you're building it, you actually are kind of like, that's the mix phase, is putting the whole thing together.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a pile of screws and you're like, oh yeah, no, those probably shouldn't like stick out as much. It's like, well, it's not done yet.
Right. Exactly.
Like we're gonna get there. We're getting organized.
Yeah.
We're getting everything where it needs to be right now.
That's
and
right.
then
Yeah.
the mix is gonna happen. That being said, I think of it similar to the way we were talking about tuning vocals, in that you should feel at the end of every single one of these processes, you should feel really good about it.
Yes.
You should look at it and you should say, man, this is really good. Because in the next phase, it's going to bump it up to that next level.
Yes.
That's the way it should be. So you should finish your recording and be like, this is good. Then you should finish your mix and you should be like, this is great. And then, you should finish your master.
There's one more phase.
And you should be like, this is amazing.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because I've been talking with this younger band that I'm working with right now, and the discussion or the theory that I'm trying to like impose on them and share with them and hope that they can kind of internalize it, and I think they're getting it. They really are. Is each recording, each piece that you record, each instrument or element or layer of the recording should sound great and should be strong enough to stand on its own.
Completely.
It like you should be able to solo any one layer or piece and be like, yeah, that sounds good. Like I'm vibing on that. Even though like all you're listening to right now is just the drums. Right. But you should be able to like get into it and feel like you like listening to it by itself.
Yes.
If you can have that feeling for each one of the pieces of your drums, your bass, your guitar layer, your vocal harmony, your whatever, your shaker track. If you can feel that way about your shaker track,
yes,
then the mix is going to be incredible.
It is. Yep.
Or it has the potential to be, right?
Yep.
And there's so many directions you can go.
Yeah.
So,
and to that end, I will say also, if you've been around studios long enough, you'll hear this phrase, and it's totally true. And it's, you can't polish a turd.
Yes.
It's still going to be a turd.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
You have to.
You get out what you put in.
Completely.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
Yeah. And, quality takes time, I feel like. And, the more seasoned, the more studio experience you get, the faster you'll be able to produce high quality. But if you're just getting started, it's going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to have to take multiple takes. You might even feel like you're beating a dead horse, but it's just the way, if you want to put it out there and you want it to be good, then you're going to have to put the reps in.
Yeah. And I will say also, before we move to mastering,
yes,
one of my favorite things, if not my favorite, that there's nothing that has inspired me to become a better musician and to get better at my musical craft than the process of recording.
Yeah.
Because you can choose to view it two ways. You can, when you're first starting out, you can listen back to a recording of yourself and be like, I am garbage.
Yeah.
This sucks. I suck. I
Right.
never want to do this ever again.
What am I doing?
You can choose to be that negative, or you can choose to look at it in an incredibly positive lens
Mhm.
and say, "Oh man, I have like the next step in front of me. Like I know what I need to work on."
Mhm.
And you can let it inspire you.
Yeah.
And some of the greatest musical leaps I've made have come from that level of inspiration. It's actually self-inspiration.
Yeah.
It's looking at what am I doing and what challenge is in front of me? What can I do better? And if you get real serious about recording, even just recording yourself, you will become a monster musician if
Yeah.
you stay at it.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's putting in the reps right there.
It is putting in the reps. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all that
Mhm.
to say, there is nothing wrong with having to punch yourself in a whole bunch and just getting the part down.
Totally. I mean, gosh, when I record myself, like I play the bass and I just sit at the recording console and just hit that bad boy, record, stop, undo, record again, undo. Okay, maybe save that, undo. Like
We've all been there, man.
I delete way more than I keep, right? But it's mostly from the perspective that, you're your own worst critic, and like I don't do it that way for other people. I let them make those calls. I won't let them keep something that's not good. Like I'm
Right.
going to be there to help them.
Right. To tell them, nah.
Yeah. But I'm also going to, advocate for something that is good, that they're just like what I do is in my head that it's not perfect, right? Because you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
Perfection is just not obtainable. You just want to get as close as you can,
Mhm.
right? And so, you got to advocate for those type of things. And it's like one of the things that I like to think about with it is, mixing is a thing that people hold as like this like magical process. Like the magic is in the mix, right? There's a lot of truth to that, but I think the reason that it gets held up that way is that that's the time where things start to come together and you hear it the way that it's in your head.
Exactly.
That's where like it actually becomes the reality of your vision. You're making your vision come to life.
Yes.
And that's a awesome time in the recording process.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
That's kind of what you're there for, right? To bring your visions and your thoughts to reality, right?
Right.
But a lot of it comes from the recording process.
It really does. Source tone
Yes.
so matters.
The pieces,
so much.
yeah, the pieces of the puzzle have to be strong pieces or else the puzzle will fall apart
Correct.
at the end. So,
Yeah. I mean, this will be a common theme for me, even when we get to live stuff later in episodes, but
Good.
source tone.
Mm-hmm.
Your source tone has to be right.
Yes.
It just does. And it's because of what you're saying.
Yes.
It's a foundational, all the pieces have to work together.
Yeah.
There can be no weak links.
Right. And that's like your mix can only be as good as your recordings, and then your master can only be as good as your mix, right?
Yeah.
So to that, I think, we've covered all of the first 4 phases.
Yep.
Let's talk about the final phase.
Oh boy.
Talk to me about mastering, John. That's kind of your thing.
Oh,
right?
this is my bread and butter, man. So yeah, I am a mastering engineer. I do mix, but over the course of time, I have fallen in love with mastering, and I simply love it. I love everything about it. Let me just give you a few examples.
Okay.
One of the things I love about it is that an effective mastering engineer is enhancing your music to its sonic intent. That's the way I think about it.
Interesting.
So basically, when I get a mix from somebody that's a good mix, that I don't have to go back to them and say, hey, I need a few things changed before we can really get this master off the ground.
Which probably does happen.
It does happen a lot.
Yeah, fair
It does
amount.
happen a lot. But once I get a good mix, I am listening between the lines. Okay? That's the way I think about this. I'm listening in between the lines, and I'm thinking, what was this band and what was this mix engineer really trying to go for as far as feel? What do they want this song to feel like? They've already done a good job of expressing the musical side of it.
Mhm.
They've already done a really good job, hopefully, of all of their editing is good, their mix is good, their mix has feel and dynamic and everything that you want in a really, I call it a saucy mix.
Nice.
Okay. The mastering phase is taking that and nudging it gently fully in the direction that it's already trying to go.
Yeah.
It's different from mixing in that you're just taking the stereo track.
Yep.
You're not taking all the individual tracks. You're taking a bounced stereo track, and you are applying broad brush strokes to the whole thing.
Yep.
So a track in the hands of a young mastering engineer can be very dangerous because if you don't know how to make these gentle and broad brush strokes, then you can really destroy a track.
Yeah.
And it can sound really bad.
You ruin it.
But what I'm talking about here is, I speak an analogy a lot. You'll probably pick up on that if you're listening. But I view this as painting a barn, not painting a mural.
Okay.
Okay? Broad brushstrokes. If you're painting a barn, you don't want to get up there with a thin little paintbrush and just start chipping away at it. You need a wide brush. You need to make big sweeping strokes. And by the time you're done with it, that's, you're not building the barn, you're finishing the barn.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe even a spray gun.
A spray gun. That's right.
A
Depends.
roller.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's what a mastering engineer should do. There is a lot of talk about, mastering engineers just make your song louder. That is part of the job. That's the technical side of it is, okay, we have these measurement tools that will tell us how loud songs are perceived to our ears. Those are measured in LUFS.
Yeah.
So part of a mastering engineer's job is to bring your song up to a certain loudness, which is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, this is highly genre specific.
Yeah.
So, if you've got a reference song for your mastering engineer, which most mastering engineers, myself included, won't master without a reference. We want you to tell us what you want your song to sound like and how loud to be. Then we're going to bring it up to that same level. That is literally the last part of the mastering process, though.
Yeah.
Mastering engineers are typically people who have spent a great deal of time in all of these other processes that we've talked about. We've trained the crap out of our ears.
Yep.
We've put a lot of time in. We're probably hearing things that you as the artist may not hear, but you will feel them.
Yeah.
That's the idea
Yeah.
of excellent mastering. It is translating excellent sound to excellent feel.
Yeah.
You are taking it to the finish line, basically.
Yeah.
You're like already at the finish line, but we're crossing you over into the finish line.
Totally.
From a technical standpoint, this is done through lots of different ways. Gentle EQing and musical EQing, not surgical. Saturation is a tool that I use a whole lot.
Big one.
And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. Just look it up because saturation is awesome.
Yeah.
When used appropriately. All kinds of things. Stereo widening sometimes can be a big one.
Yeah.
Just anything that's going to enhance to a sonic intent. Compression, limiting is a big one as well. I use, depending on the genre, I actually use a clipper quite a lot in mastering. So there are all these different tools and things that go into it. If your mastering engineer that you've hired is literally just making your song louder and or bass heavier, that's probably not a person to go with again.
He's not doing it for you.
Yep, that's probably not it. And so, and I understand this too. It's difficult getting clients as a mastering engineer, first-time clients, because people are like, oh, well, I don't know. Like I had this guy master my song one time and it was louder. I guess it was better or whatever. And it was like ready for release. But I'm telling you right now, we'll talk about this in later episodes too. I'm telling you right now, if you A/B, and I've done this for clients, if you A/B like one of the quick mastering tools with an actual like seasoned mastering engineer's finished product, they're night and day.
Yeah.
They're just going to be night and day.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit, just to jump in on that for a second, I think that's a problem out there with younger bands in particular, or musicians just starting out is, and some of it's just circumstantial that you don't really have too many other options, and the A being like comparing two things together is either not within reach or but most of the time you're just not thinking about it, right? But like you said, being able to listen to the two back to back is where like some aha moments will come into place.
Yes.
Like, and a lot of people don't go down that pathway.
Yeah.
But like, pro tip, if you haven't quite found your mastering guy yet, take the same song and hire 2 or 3 different mastering engineers to do the same song, and then compare, because you're using the same mix, so the level playing field. Compare those, and that will tell you a lot about what mastering can do and what you like.
Yes, completely.
Yeah.
And even as a mastering engineer, I've done this to myself. I've literally paid other mastering engineers to master tracks so that I have references of like, this is how this guy would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a whole file of those, you know.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm going to learn, and I've learned from listening to what other people do with tracks and things like that. But anyway, yeah, mastering, I could talk for a long time about this, but that's a broad overview of what it actually is.
Yeah. We'll probably have another episode of just about that.
Yeah,
and
I would think so.
You know, and we may have one just dedicated to mixing too, because that part of the phase is very vast.
Oh, we could have multiple episodes on mixing.
I mean, each one of these processes that we're talking about in this episode could probably have its own dedicated episode, because it can go really deep. But we just want to give everyone like the general process to start to what to expect whenever they get into it, and to kind of know, something about it before they just dive into it. Right?
Totally. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we've covered that side of it.
I think so.
Well.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up number 1.
Part 1.
That's
right.
And then we'll get into the actual release.
Part 2 is going to be actually, you've done all this work. Now you have to do a little bit more work.
That's right.
And you have to release your song, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode, Part 2.
That's right.
Before we get there, though, this is how we end every episode. We're talking about some work that we're doing.
Yeah.
So, Trent, what are you working on the last little bit here, man?
Yeah, what are we working on? Awesome. So this week and last week, I've been working with this younger band called Fudge.
Okay.
They're a local band here in Wilmington. Most of them, I think, went to UNCW, so fellow Seahawks.
Woo.
Yep. They're an indie rock pop band. I don't know if they would like me saying pop, but I look at it in a good way. So definitely indie rock. Similar to like some of their bigger influences, they're like Oasis and but they like Led Zeppelin. Like they like some of the older stuff too. They like the 90s rock bands as well.
Love that.
And then some other modern bands, Backseat Lover and stuff like that too. So we're having a good time. We're doing a full-length record. They got 8 songs. Songs are a little bit longer, so it's definitely full length in total time. And yeah, it's good. It's they're cool dudes. They've got good songwriting. They've got catchy melodies. We're doing it right. We're taking the time to do it the right way. Like we did the drum quantizing. We did all of that. We're at the end of the recording phase now. We're talking about the icing on the cake and like the ideas, the little vocal harmonies and oohs and ahs in the background and stuff like that.
I love when it gets to that part.
Yeah, it's been really good. What about you? What you been into?
Yeah, I would say I've been doing a lot of different things, kind of all over the place. I jokingly tell people these days that when they ask what I do for a job, because it's hard to nail it down because I do a lot of different things. I just kind of do all the side quests.
Yeah.
If you're a video gamer, I do the side quests.
I love that. Those are the best.
Yeah, they are. I agree. Some of the side quests I've been on, I have produced, mixed, and mastered for this guy named Darren Nelson, and he is a singer-songwriter who kind of has a vibe that is folksy, sort of, but it's very Jerry Rafferty, I would say. That's kind of one of his primary influences.
Cool. Yeah.
And he's my father-in-law. So that's pretty cool too.
Look at that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So Yeah, he's been writing songs for like 25 years, and he's let me listen to a few of his kind of over the years. And about a year ago, I was like, man, you know what I do? Like, we need
Why
to
don't
record
we?
some of your
Yeah.
songs. And so he finally was like, all right, let's do this.
Cool.
So we did one of them about 6 months ago, and then that one was called Always Home. It was kind of his debut single. And then we just finished, and it just came out last Friday. We just released one that's called Canvas on the Wall. And so it's kind of different. It's again like very in that Jerry Rafferty like long intro form kind of
Cool.
thing. And
Yeah.
then he's really a storyteller. I mean, so all of his songs are about stories. And I love this one. I love Darren's lyrics in particular. Like he's a great lyricist.
Nice.
But yeah, he gave me a scratch track of it's just him playing guitar, and I did the rest of it. And yeah, it wound up being a really fun song. It's about kind of a guy just daydreaming, looking at this painting on his wall, and being like, what if I could just jump through that painting?
Ah.
What if I could just be there? Would it be so different from this world, or would it be
Right.
really similar?
That's a cool concept.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
cool. I got to do a lot of text painting in the arrangement, which I love doing sometimes. Just
Yeah.
like, literally putting instrumentation to exactly the words. So anyway, so that's
like
kind
that.
of what I've been working on, and that's finished now. And
Awesome.
yeah, it was a good time.
Cool. That's great, man.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
for sure.
All right. Well, steady the path, everyone.
Steady the path, guys.
That's right. Till
And,
next time.
Until next time, yeah. Looking forward to it.